and welcome to the Vassals of Kingsgrave. Thank you for joining us for episode 74 of our great linear reread of A Song of Ice and Fire by G.R.R. Martin. This episode could potentially spoil any events in the published series, but there won't be any show spoilers, and regarding the Winds of Winter preview chapters, I don't think we will have cause to discuss them today, but I'll be sure to warn you if we do. So that's also a good time to say that the views expressed here are those of the individual hosts and not of the OK as a whole. So I'm Mary, or Nymeria on the forums, and I'm joined today by Michael.
Hey, Khal Wadege on the forums.
Leigh.
Howdy, Chaotic Neutral on the forums.
Matt, and not Varley, Matt.
Hey, Blue Armor on the forums.
Hey, and also Varley.
Hey.
And finally Jock.
Jock, hello in your life, and hello Jock in the forums.
Cool, so last episode ended with Davos 3 on March 12th. This episode will cover Cersei 4 from Feast, and Tyrion 4 and Bran 2 from Dance. These events all take place from March 16th to 20th, 300 AL. So, in the meantime, on March 16th, Arya turns 11 years old. That's a good thing to notice. So we start with Cersei 4 in Feast, and I believe Michael has the recap for us.
Oh yes, that's mine. Alright. Cersei receives another dwarf's head from a group of peasants, and is disappointed to see that, again, it is not Tyrion. She considers punishing the men, but decides not to, being more than willing to commit a dwarf genocide so long as Tyrion is caught. She arrives at her small council meeting, having upturned the previous administration with people that will be loyal to her, and given them new titles. Orton Merryweather is her Justiciar, Oren Waters is her Grand Admiral, Giles Rosby her Treasurer, Qyburn her Spy Master, and Sir Hyrus Swift has been appointed as her new hand, but really as a hostage should Kevin Lannister oppose her. They start to discuss matters of state. Balon will go south to Dorne with a mountain skull for Doran Martell, and to take Myrcella for a visit to King's Landing. More sparrows are arriving in the city, and the High Septon has mysteriously died in his sleep, with a new election looming that utterly bores Cersei. The letter of the old Lord's Declarant of the Vale is discussed, but since Peter Baelish has not asked for any help, the council only instructs the Lord's Declarant that Peter must not come to any harm. The construction of the royal fleet is brought up, as almost no ships survive the Battle of the Blackwater. Lord Giles coughs up that no gold is available to fund these ships, so Cersei commits Phase 1 of the Westerosi financial crisis by announcing that the Iron Throne will defer its payments to the Iron Bank, as well as the Faith of the Seven. Maester Pycelle says that this is the worst idea she's had since she asked Joffrey to pardon Ned Stark, but Cersei does not want to hear it. They move on to the north. Lord Manderley reports that Stannis has sent Davos Seaworth to White Harbour to treat with him, and asks what should be done with him. The council decrees that Davos must be beheaded for Lord Manderley's son to return to him alive. Meanwhile, Arya Stark, who is in fact Jane Poole, is travelling up with Roose Bolton to meet his bastard son Ramsay, who will soon take Moat Caillan from the Ironborn. When somebody mentions Sansa, Cersei goes on a crazy rant about how Sansa betrayed her trust, and that when Sansa is found, she will be tortured horribly until she dies, to the council's shock and awkward silence. The Night's Watch is brought up. Jon Snow has been elected commander, and the council thinks he may pledge his strength to Stannis' cause. Qyburn suggests they send a group of men to ostensibly take the Black, but to have Jon assassinated in truth. After the council, Cersei summons Sir Osmy Kettleblack and outlines her ingenious plan that is totally not a stupid idea in the slightest. Osmy will seduce Marjorie and be found abed with her, allowing Marjorie to be executed and Osmy sent to the Wall, where he will then murder Jon Snow and get killed himself. She promises to make Osmy a lord for his service and pay him out of the Queen's royal purse, if you know what I mean. She then instructs Tyanna to tell Marjorie that she has a secret admirer, but to only tell Marjorie if she probes further. Alright, so this is quite a doozy of a chapter. I always love small council meetings.
Yeah, this one is kind of surreal though. They are pretty much useless, except for Pycelle, who tries to be reasonable, but everyone's just mocking him.
Yeah, Council of Lickspittles. It's just Cersei's hearing what she wants to hear, and that's it.
Yeah.
She really thinks she's, like, doing the smart thing by, like, draining the swamp and putting her people in, and they're all idiots, too.
Yep, they are. Not one of them is smart or intelligent. Well, Titan's kind of smart, but...
And it's funny considering that Pycelle's such a Lannister toady that even you would have think that Cersei would have picked up that even he's disagreeing with something a Lannister is saying and kind of pick up on that, but nope.
Yeah.
So with the Kettle Blacks, what I never understood was, like, how they rose so high that, like, Cersei's like, you know what, these are the guys. This is the guy to do all the following things that will help bring down the entire kingdom. Like, where a book ago they were like, who the fuck are they?
Well, they seem to have been in Ashley one's employ, so...
Yeah, but Cersei doesn't know that.
Right.
I kind of think
Cersei doesn't know a lot of things.
In that critical period of the Clash of Kings where King's Landing was about to be besieged, Cersei really needed people she could trust, and she got the Kettle Blacks, and for that reason she sort of trusts them way more than she should, but it's just that Cersei has so few people that she actually trusts.
She always puts herself in the trust of the worst people.
Yes. Yeah.
I think she also thinks that she has a power over them, especially it is Osney Kettle Black in this scene. She's completely convinced that he's gonna do whatever she asks him to because he wants her, and it seems to work, at least at the moment. So, she has a pawns basically, and she really thinks her sexuality will be all that it takes to have them do her bidding.
Yeah, but, like, once she gives it up, like, she better be damn good in bed to keep him on the line like that. Like,
well, apparently she has given it up already, but he wants more.
She can talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, we find out later that she's actually kind of successful, as, you know, because they were originally working for Littlefinger, and they kind of stopped doing that and do at least follow her somewhat to their detriment.
Mm.
Well, they were brought over by, Littlefinger brought them over with their father, who's currently with them in the Vale, right?
Yeah.
And then Tyrion and Bran bought them because so they could spy on Cersei, but then Cersei nominated one of them for the White Cloak, and then that made him hers, and then plus she bagged him.
Yeah, I mean, they were still working for Littlefinger when they were in Tyrion's service.
Yeah. I believe, like, the answer to your question, Matt, in my opinion, is that it's precisely because there were such low bones. I mean, not low bones, but not really. They don't have any power before all of this. So that's why Cersei is convinced that they are the people to do that, because apart from the power that she gives them, they don't have any, so she's in control, at least in her mind.
Yeah, they owe everything to Cersei.
Yeah.
So at this point, is the Iron Throne still making payments to the Lannister debt, despite Tywin now being out of the picture? And he was like, no, we're going to the throne will keep on paying that one. Like, why would she?
So. But yeah, you're totally right, Varley. Like, why not just don't repay the Lannister debt for a while? Because, you know, the Lannisters aren't going to retaliate.
Right. And, I mean, it's not like the Lannisters are in a bad position right now. Like, I don't think they need the gold. Is that just Cersei's stupidity?
I don't know. I guess I don't know. I kind of assumed that they stopped paying that debt. Is there something, like, from Storm like, that specifically says they're still paying off the debt to the Lannisters?
I don't know, I assumed the same thing, yeah.
No, I think it's in Clash of Kings when Tyrion needs to rebuild the waterfront, and he's like, well, where's the coin gonna come from? And Tywin's like, well, you'll find it, Littlefinger always did. And then he's like, well, we could, forgive the debt to the Lannisters, and Tywin's like, don't be ridiculous, you dummy.
Right, yeah, right. It makes sense that they wouldn't, they're not going to forgive it completely, but, they could stop making installments for a period.
Yeah. But on top of that, like, is Cersei just, like, blissfully unaware of, like, the Iron Bank and its reputation?
Yeah, pretty much.
How?
I feel like she's got a lot of the faculties outside of King's Landing in terms of public opinion or even reputation, to be honest. 'Cause she's so far in her head with her perception of her and her family's strength that she's blinded by everything else, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there's no way she would, like, learn it. Because the crown, like, just because the crown has been, shitty economically for years now where no one really talks about it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the factors in that they've just been lulled into this false sense of, we've always been in debt. Who cares? We can extend it forever.
Raise the debt ceiling.
And I think a lot of that's got to do with Littlefinger as well, in terms of him being able to manipulate people's perceptions of what the gold within the capital is like anyway.
But Littlefinger, like, I think he even comments, like, immediately, maybe in Feast in, like, one of the next chapters, is like, Cersei's, like, bringing the downfall of the realm faster than even he thought by, like, not stopping payments to the Iron Bank.
Well, yeah, because he knows that's stupid, but while he was Master of Coins, he was indeed manipulating everyone into thinking that there was a lot of it and that he could find it anyway. And in this sense of security, that there's always going to be a way to find money, but that doesn't mean he doesn't know about the Iron Bank reputation.
I think he deliberately got a loan from the Iron Bank in the vague possibility that this would happen. Like, it's a long shot, but
yeah.
You go to loan sharks to get loans. Yeah, just in case.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's just been unfortunate that most of the people in power for the past 30 years just don't give a shit about economics. Until there aren't enough
lords in general don't give a shit about economics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Vina actually thinks that some of Cersei's ideas are actually smart. And she cites the using Kettle Black to frame Marjorie and get her men to the wall. She thinks that's a good idea, that it's politically smart, and apparently we don't agree, I think.
Using her own knight, like a knight of her own household, it's like a smoking gun pointing back to her.
Right. Follow the money trail.
Yeah, it's just Marjorie just doesn't seem like the type. It's just one of those. It just seems like if Cersei could find proof that something already happened, sure, like that'd be, a good use of resources to try and see if she's been, unfaithful before. But I don't know. But if she wasn't didn't have a history of it in the past, I could just never imagine this working. I feel like Marjorie has been kind of brought up by the Queen of Thorns too well to fall for something so stupid.
I also just think that it's unnecessary. I guess it,
absolutely.
She perceives a threat that's only there because of the prophecy, I guess, but really, what's the point of Marjorie's not going to have any real power until Tommen has real power, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the main problem in general, where removing the Tyrells from the council was a dumb idea in the first place.
Yeah. And okay, what happens when Marjorie is removed because of that, and they still have to marry Tommen to someone?
Right, yeah.
Is she gonna be that crazy with everyone who potentially will marry her son. That's crazy on the long term also.
Yeah, and I don't know if I don't know. I guess she perceives her like Joffrey not being able to be manipulated by Marjorie as much, but Tommen's like helpless against her. I don't know.
Yeah.
And also because of the damn show, I keep on forgetting Tommen's like 5 years old.
Yeah.
Right, and Marjorie's only 16 and not, 30 like Natalie Dormer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like off topic here, but I will be curious about kind of how the Iron Bank like plot line plays out. Just because I've always been curious about like kind of the power structure in Bravos and how that's kind of like split between the Iron Bank, the Sea Lord, and the House of Black and White.
Yeah, I hope it just doesn't become another like Myronese knot for him, where he's like, well, the Iron Bank's playing this long, and then there's like theories that they're against the dragon, so they'll go against Daenerys. So it's like I'm concerned like he set them up to go in too many directions, and now he doesn't know what to do with them.
At least a whole bunch of characters are not stuck in Bravos in the same way that they're stuck in Marine.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a Bravosi not style problem, at least.
Well, what's his name? Harry Swift is on his way over there by the end of this book, and Arya's over there, and so more people are going to Bravos.
Yeah, it's not the same magnitude than Marine with Dany and everyone around her.
Right, there's only one POV.
Yeah.
At least Marine's on a bit of a collision course right now in comparison to Bravos, which is really only just starting.
Yeah.
Right, he's got time to figure that out.
So, I forget, was this the dwarf head that we think is the guy that Brienne met?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
The old guy that was like, he walked up just as, carefully as you please. Okay.
Because they mention him being a sparrow or something.
Yeah.
So he's religious.
And he regrew his nose. I like how they're all like, or he had a nose.
She makes a smart decision there by not killing the people who brought her the head.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's still overall just awful.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess back to Bina's point, yeah, some of the decisions are probably correct with, not teaming up with the Ironborn is definitely a good move. Obviously they need to build more ships. There's also a hint here of Orain Waters, beginning his pirate, recruiting for his pirate army that will appear later. I didn't remember like the plot to go up and assassinate Jon. I mean, it never comes to fruition just because.
Yeah, that's kind of ironic, right? Because
it's
actually assassinated before they even get there, so.
Right, well, I mean, it's just because Cersei gets arrested, so they never go through with it.
Yeah.
But isn't that like another, like, just idea of, like, what is the point? Like, the Night's Watch hasn't made a move against your kingdom. You're spouting the fact that the Boltons will take care of Stannis, which means that you have faith in them to take care of any other threat in the north.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a better conceived threat of, like, sending 100 people up there, which I think, didn't Tywin or someone suggest that earlier? Like, send 100 people, but they'll all be Lannister people, and they'll take control of the Night's Watch.
Well, wasn't that kind of the goal? Oh wait, no. Jaina Slint wanted to take control of the Watch, but she wasn't quite doing it for the Lannisters.
No, he's doing that because he's a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they knew he would be the Lannisters' man, as Jaina Slint.
Yeah. Bina has also a good comparison that's really interesting. She says, this chapter, always strongly reminds me of what it must have been to be in the court of King Henry plotting to bring down Anne Boleyn with accusations of adultery. So that's a good, that's exactly what it is, like this, plotting.
But at least Henry VIII, like, he perceived that he would not be able to father an heir with Anne Boleyn, so he needed a new wife. Like, Cersei's not interested in getting Tommen a new wife right now.
That's true, but the reasons might be crazier for Cersei than they were for King Henry VIII, but it's still the same plotting. I like the comparison.
Just a general intrigue.
Yeah.
They need some excuse, any excuse to get rid of Anne or Marjorie.
Yeah. And yeah. Also about the small council, they are just this really shocking lack of knowledge about the Ironborn and the Greyjoys. Like, doesn't he have a son, or maybe other sons, or they like completely clueless about the
important matters of the state.
Overall, they have like almost no actionable intelligence. Like they are really like, you know, swinging in the dark here. Where you know, she makes the comment that Qyburn can replace Varys, but like he definitely doesn't know as much as Varys does, and really like they just do not have enough information to properly, you know, make any good plans, like even if they were more intelligent people.
I like the guffawing of Pycelle in regards to Qyburn being you can hear his gavel shake.
Yeah. Okay. Anyone else has something to say about this chapter?
Me. So there are, in this chapter, we're first introduced to 3 little conspiracy theories, but we're given hints, but it won't be till the end of the feast dance that the reader will be able to figure these out. Mm-hmm. So the first one is that Cersei used Osney Kettleblack to kill the High Septon. The second is that Balon Swan is additionally going down to ensure Trystane is killed and Myrcella's marriage hand is freed. Mm-hmm. And the third is that the Mountain is, well, he's dead, but he's not quite done with, and we'll be seeing him again.
So we know that Osney Kettleblack definitely did kill the Ice Sparrow, right?
Yeah, because he confesses it.
Or something, yeah. We don't find that out in Feast? We found that out in Dance?
I swear I meant a Feast Dance, so just the end of both novels.
Oh. Huh. And then Swan, the last we see of him, he's going to High Hermitage or whatever to kill Darkstar.
Yep.
He's supposed to kill Trystane?
Isn't that...
He was supposed to, in the Kingswood, there was going to be an ambush, and he was going to swear that he saw Tyrion in the confusion.
Oh, right, they were like chanting half man or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they wanted to take a ship. Okay, I remember now. So,
yeah, because they're bringing Myrcella and Trystane back to King's Landing.
And I know some people think that instead of sending the Mountain's head down, they've sent a dwarf's head, which is kind of overlarge and would pass. What do you guys think of this?
Yeah, I would say it's probably the case.
But, I mean, dwarf's heads are like overlarge, but in very distinct ways. Usually it's just like in the forehead area and in relation to their body. Like the Mountain's just like a huge fucking person, right? I don't know.
Right. I mean, but that's also why, you know, they had like maggots and stuff like eat the face down, so it's hard to recognize. I mean, it just seems likely that there was a replacement head put in that box.
I feel like Frankengregor, as whatever zombie thing he comes back as, he needs a head or a brain, a central processing unit to move himself. And to me, it just makes more sense that it is the Mountain's original head.
Not Rod Stark's head?
Oh, maybe. But as we know, in our world, you can't perform head transplants still. So, yeah.
Well, yet.
Yeah. We're getting close.
Full face
we don't
yes.
have that either.
And just a final thing. It's like, how vindictive are you that you want to, like, just shit on a person's dead skull for the rest of your life? And be like, you are a vanquished enemy, and I'm reminded of it every day. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Crazy Cersei.
Yeah, I have a couple more things. They randomly bring up those damned tapestries again that Littlefinger wants. There's a quote in here where Cersei mentioned. What? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, for the tapestries, do you think that's like a Chekhov's tapestries? Like they keep on getting brought up? Like,
yeah, I feel like it needs to go somewhere.
It's not just like decor that we've been spending chapters on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, who knows? But it just seems odd that they keep bringing it up.
I think this gets resolved in one of the preview Winds of Winter chapters, but I won't go in it for spoilers' sake.
Oh, really? It's in the Sansa chapter?
There is a sort of conclusion to the mysterious tapestries.
I don't know.
Is there? Shit, I have to reread that preview chapter.
Yeah, I guess
it's not very big. It's not very exciting or anything. It's just like, oh, that's why he wanted them.
Alright. Well, yeah. Let us know after we're done.
Yeah.
So I don't have to look it up. And yeah, there's also random quotes like where Cersei mentions after that sorry business with the cat. Where is that? Like, I was just curious, is that a reference to like one of Valerian's random things? Like, there's that.
No, that's Joffrey cutting open the cat to find the kitten.
It's Joffrey torturing the cat. Okay.
To me, it's that story, but I don't quite see the relation to Robert bringing one of his bastard daughters to King's Landing. Like,
that sentence didn't make sense to me much either.
Do you think the bastard daughter was Maya Stone?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I would assume so, because she's like the only daughter we know of that age.
I think the motivation is just that Robert is now seeing Joffrey to be a complete monster, and he wants some positive validation, and being like, oh, look at Maya, she's not a monster, I'm an alright father, even though I don't do any fatherly attributes or whatever.
Fair enough. Alright, and then my final comment is, there's a particular quote in here that struck me, where Cersei kind of, mentions, how men have looked at her all her life. And it goes, because I was so beautiful, they said, but Jaime was beautiful as well, and they never looked at him that way. And it just kind of, I don't know, it just like struck kind of like a sad tone with me. And also kind of relates to, in that tirade that Cersei goes on about Sansa, she mentions, trying to like teach her about like kind of like the ways of the world and like how things really are. Whereas, Sansa's kind of at that age now where men are starting to look at her. And so I thought that was kind of just like an interesting and kind of, I don't know, mournful tone that made me feel a little sorry for Cersei.
Well, it's always the same thing with her. She's both really unhappy to be a woman and not to be able to, and to not have the power that men have, and to not be considered like men are. And at the same time, she uses the fact that she's a woman, and she uses her sexuality for everything. So it's like, in this sentence, in these thoughts, she's both unhappy that people have been looking at her this way, and whenever she would go off as Jaime, they wouldn't. But at the same time, it's like she also likes this attention, so it's always one of the many Cersei paradoxes to me.
I feel like she likes the attention because it's all she can get as a woman. Like, this is her one redeeming feature. I mean, not that someone being beautiful makes them a bad person, but it's just like, if she has to be a woman, at least she is a beautiful woman. And that's what women should be.
But that's also the thing.
In the context of Westerosi woman standards.
And of Cersei's point of view. But that's also, it's both, her beauty and her sexuality, it's both the I can't find my words. It's the thing she hangs on to, like, at least I'm beautiful, but at the same time, it's also the very expression of her being a woman and not being a man. So it's both a thing she likes and she dislikes, I think.
I think there's only two things she likes being about a woman, is that what you just said, and being a mother, personally. That's really all I can see from her in terms of being a woman that she enjoys.
Yeah, but she's a shitty mom, too. Just because she's willing to, like, go toe-to-toe with another house. So, yeah. I don't know.
Doesn't mean she's good, but...
Yeah. Is it Tyrion or Littlefinger who comments that, like, Cersei has her beauty, her money, and her last name or something, and only one of those are truly hers? Like, they comment, like, they make some kind of comment like that where it's like, yeah, and, you know, basically her beauty will fade and then she will have nothing that's actually hers alone.
Yeah, that's Littlefinger.
To control.
He says that to Sansa at some point.
I think this is definitely a moment where we're meant to feel 100% sympathy for Cersei in this very small occasion. Not of the rest of the chapter, but yeah, she's definitely been screwed over a bit.
But she's wrong about Orain Waters in this occasion. I think it's completely the other way around. She wants him, and he noticed that, so he uses it to get his way and have his chips.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, you could pick up, like, if you're a handsome dude, you know you're a handsome dude, and if people are like, hey, you kind of look like that famous guy. I think so.
Yeah, I think really in a feudal society, you can only, really what you can do, unless you have any, if you don't have any power at all, the best thing you can do is just flaunt what you've got and flaunt it as best as you can.
Okay. Anything else?
I'm good.
Cool. Okay. So after Cersei 4 from Peace, we jump to Tyrion 4 in Dance. This happens the next day on March 17th. And this is Leigh for the chapter recap.
Yes. I trimmed it down a bit, but it's still a bit long, but we'll see.
Don't worry.
Tyrion, aka Yellow, aka Hugo Hill and company, continue to travel down the Rhine on the Shy Maid. Tyrion has been forbidden by Griff for drinking any more wine after his first night's drunken stupor, drinking himself blind and retching over the side into the Rhine. He sits next to the coals across from Griff, noting that the gruff old man would rather sail day and night rather than the ship's captain and wife, Yandri and Ysila's reluctance of sailing at night for fear of getting snagged and destroying the ship's hull. Griff was desperate for Volantis. Septa Lemore is first of the entourage to wake. Tyrion remarks that she is in her 40s, more handsome than pretty, and pretty much tells the reader that he likes to run his hand up and down the flagpole, and even the sight of her disrobing gets him hard. He also notes the Scepter is not as innocent as she appears, saying she stretch marks that he claims could only have gotten from childbirth. Few theories. Yandri and Ysilla start breakfast with Duck and young Griff beginning the latter's sword training, much to the boys' delight. Young Griff slammed a shoulder into Duck, forcing him into the water. Grabbing Tyrion by the collar, he pulls the dwarf into the river as well. Once back aboard, Tyrion is reminded of the great task given by Griff, writing of all of what he knows about his readings of dragon lore, citing books that he wished that he had read, and some destroyed it over time, or some partially still recovered. Half-Maester Holden appears in the afternoon. Half-Maester Holden appears, and in the afternoon he joins the Half-Maester as he continues young Griff's education, beginning with languages. The blue-haired boy was fluent in the common tongue, High Valyrian, the low dialects of Pentos, Tyrosh, Mir, and Lys, amongst others, currently learning others. The lesson continues with geometry and some history, reciting some, for me, very interesting at least, a history of Volantis, and the difference between the tigers and elephants. Having not won a game of ASOIAF against the Half-Maester. They set up for a game. Tyrion has no coin, but wishes to wage on the game with secrets. Holden agrees and loses. Later on deck, passing the ruins of Nymeria, Tyrion spots the emergence of a giant turtle from the water, to which Gendry claims is the old man of the river. Tyrion thinks to himself that, to quote, gods and wonders always appear to attend the birth of kings. For me, it seems like an odd and uneventful chapter when I first read, but certainly, and probably even more so in the future, we'll see the importance of a lot of these details. There's one other comment as well that in the chapter that I didn't put in, that Tyrion notes as well that his eyes seem to change colour to the light as well. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, obviously. So just the ending. Bina says presumably his cryptic turtle comment means the secret he's learned is about Fagan. So I think that's, why else would he say that?
Yeah,
it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Just after the Savasi game, where it's implied that he beats, the Half-Maester, and before that they were like, let's have a bet for knowledge and secrets, or whatever. So, But I think he knew what was going on beforehand as well.
Was really reluctant to agree.
Mm-hmm.
Right, yeah, he suspected he was just trying to get information confirmed. Although, I still hate that tactic that George just cut away just to, keep, information a secret a while longer. It was really obnoxious.
Yeah.
That's a bit cheap, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's obviously something that everyone would have loved to have heard, is a lot of those secrets, but cutting late.
It's the same thing of Barristan getting interrupted every time he wants to talk about Summerhall.
That is very, very deliberate.
Yeah.
One question I do have is, does anyone else feel that all of these not just this one, but all other ASOIAF games uses foreshadowing for a lot of things, or more so of a red herring? Because I have seen just a couple of things in terms of the way that Tyrion, in his first game, he was so eager to use the dragon, his dragon, and that lost in the game, whereas he actually held back this time and seemed to have won. Whether or not that's and the danger of catapults, I can't quite remember again, but maybe that's foreshadowing the war of Meereen to come. It'd be stupid if a dragon got took out by a trebuchet, sorry. But,
yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. That's an interesting point. I mean,
right.
I think the Savas game is clearly. The game itself is obviously imitating battles, and strategy. So it would make sense that some of it can be foreshadowing for actual battles later in the book.
I know there's a comment in a later chapter with Ariane as she plays Savasi, and one character is like, "Oh, you spend all time thinking about the dragon," and I think that has some obvious symbolism and foreshadowing. So yeah, I think some of the Savasi is pretty good for future prediction. I don't know how far I'd read into it though, getting down to the minute details.
Yeah, just like Patchface or Dwarf of Hornhill kind of foreshadowing, or just subtle chess.
Yeah, I think
more
it's
just
more
chess
subtle.
metaphors. Yeah.
I guess we were on foreshadowing here, and there's actually a lot of it in this chapter with but it's really just for what happens to Tyrion later in the book, where you have obviously hints of who young Griff is, his encounter with the Stone Men. Also, hints of him becoming a slave, being sold into slavery later, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You get the good Volantis history lesson?
Yeah. I'm actually kind of curious if this election will play a role, because it happens in a later chapter when Jorah and Tyrion go through it, go through Volantis. They're in the process of their week-long election. And it's over with now. We kind of get a hint of it when Victarion passes through Volantis, but we have no idea what the outcome is of it.
Isn't the Volantines the people that bring the Golden Company and Griff over?
No, the Volantine army is actually sailing to Marine right now to join with Yunkai and all them against Daenerys. Like they're supposed to help out with the siege.
Yeah.
Merchant ships from Volantis.
Oh, the merchant ships from Volantis. Thank you.
But yeah, like overall, it's possible that like the Tigers actually gained power again, just because they're, for the first time in 300 years, just because they're actually marching the war.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and I mean, I think this that's just it. We said that the reason why this election could have an impact and could be important is because of the whole war with Daenerys, and it just goes to show that the political climate in Volantis is intense, and that maybe like there's also this whole thing with the who is it who says to Tyrion, tell her that we are waiting for her, or
the widow of the docks or whatever.
Yeah,
waterfront.
Widow of the waterfront.
Yep,
The
there it is.
Dockside widow doesn't sound as nice.
No. But what's the other name? It's something Magaro's whore or something.
Yeah, you really
Vagaro's whore.
Vagaro?
I don't know that. Haven't read that chapter yet.
But don't you think that even though it looks like the Tigers may have won, like the slave trade being so disrupted by Dany would be in the elephant's wheelhouse as well?
Right, yeah, they say that no matter who wins, they're likely gonna ride to war.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know. And there's also like an interesting thing where Illyrio seems to have a lot of sway over those elections, so he might have some input in it.
Going Ina's notes again. It's great because even if I don't find anything interesting to say in a chapter, I can always read Ina's notes.
Save us, Ina.
Yeah. So it's interesting to read this in linear order right after Cersei 4 and seeing both siblings increasingly dependent on alcohol, and both let vengeance overpower them, so they are more similar than they'd like to think. And I agree. I think, we've said it already on this reread. Sorry, Jock?
Well, the difference is one was made to stop, so...
Yeah, for now.
Yeah, that's a good move on Griff's part.
Definitely.
Goodness. I mean, I purposely did miss out the bit about Tasha, and I think you'll say a bit later on in the notes about that as well. But if he was drinking when he was thinking about that, oh, good grief.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't care about the Tasha story arc at all.
I think it's incredibly. It's just. I mean, yeah, you thought she was a whore, and so you let everyone rape her. Is being a whore, does that make it okay for her to be raped by the whole garrison? I don't think so.
That's not on him. He was a kid at the time, surrounded by a bunch of soldiers.
That's not on him, but it doesn't change. Him learning that she wasn't a whore is obviously a big thing, but it doesn't change what happened, and it was already awful before. It's just that before he was able to accept it because he thought that she had lied to him, but it's...
Oh, I see your point, okay.
There's a lot of confliction in that story from almost every single camp as well, in terms of details, whether it's something from Tyrion or Jaime or Tywin or even Tasha herself. It's just... nothing's clear. Even after what Jaime said, everything's getting misconstrued by Tyrion as well, and him changing facts later on.
I always thought the Tasha thing was just a representation of Tyrion's innocence that he's trying to regain, but you can't regain your innocence once it's lost. So it's pointless to do. He's just got to move on. And with the awfulness of what happened, it doesn't matter if she was a whore or not, but it's that's how violently like his perspective was tilted, and he just can't, drink his way back to equilibrium, or, war his way back, or even, whore his way back. But,
Yeah.
I think his ruminations feel so very, as the readers, we're not too receptive of it, because it feels very much like a pointless quest. Like he thinks to himself in this chapter, oh, Volantis, she might be in Volantis, and it's like, no, Tyrion, you're never going to see her again. Like, just forget about it, or don't forget about it, but just move on, because that's clearly what he's not doing. He's getting stuck in the past, and, just ruminating on it unhealthily.
Yeah, completely agree. Do we want to go into theories about Septa more?
do you think she was just fat?
Can you get...
That's kind of why I put in quotation marks, that he claims could only have gotten from childbirth.
Because stretch marks like that from being super fat?
Of course you can.
Yeah, you can.
That's how they get stretch marks from pregnancy, because they could become super fat, and then they have a child, and then they lose it.
Yeah, their belly swells really quickly. Can you get fat that fast, is my question.
Oh, I mean, I think I can almost prove it. Give me a week.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the main problem with, theories about that is, we don't have enough information, and I just don't. The few candidates we have just aren't very good ones.
Yeah.
And it's fun to think that she's like CRC star. Sorry about that, Marie.
Yeah, that was I'm sorry, don't worry. Yeah, CRC star. Unlikely though. But I do think that she's someone, that she's not just who she claims to be, because that's the case of basically everyone on this boat. But I'm not sure she's someone we already know, and I mean, we just don't have enough information, that's right.
Or maybe they're just so desperate that find hidden people all throughout that we just throw it under anyone that seems like a little bit different of an explanation.
Yeah.
Does Halden Halfmaester and her go over with Griff and everyone?
Yes.
To
yes.
Westeros?
Yes.
So she's in Westeros right now?
Correct.
Huh. I don't remember that.
Yeah, she's with the company at Storm's End right now.
Huh.
Yeah, we get that. I don't know. I saw it when perusing the wiki, but I assume we get it mentioned somewhere in a later chapter, I assume.
The only people who stay behind are Yandri and Ysilla.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because they're natives. But yeah, I mean, on doing some, research on this, just because, the main two of, Tyenne's mother and Ashara just don't make, they don't make sense.
Yeah. Lame theories.
Right, yeah. So, the fun ones would be, some descendant of a Blackfire, which would be cool. And then someone threw out Wenda the White Fawn, which is just fun, but obviously, there's no, it's just a fun name to throw out. There's no real evidence behind it.
And everyone throws Ashara Dane to almost any woman of myth. Some people seem to think as well, just theorize that she is Quake as well, which to me is just ludicrous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably the most unlikely of the candidates. There's one of the volunteers at Ice and Fire Con name's Chloe, Ashara Dane's one of her favorite characters, favorite little mystery things that she rants about on Twitter, where her favorite crackpot thing is that she's the wife of Howland Reed.
Oh.
Ow!
as in, she just, after the Tower of Joy, faked her death and then just moved up north.
Howland Reed just moved in on that after Ned hit it?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I guess, I mean, the more kind of actionable theory we have is that this is where we get all the books and stuff. As, the main thing being Fire and Blood / The Dance of Dragons, which is the copy that's hiding in the vaults of the Citadel.
Yeah, is that the one that we're gonna get?
Yeah, that's the one that
okay.
the
But
jacket is
it's
going
blood
after.
and fire here.
Oh yeah, my bad. I just wrote it down wrong.
We also have an explicit reference to the Game of Thrones, as Dina notices.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And talking about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, Tyrion mentions several other books and theorizes that there might be somewhat of a library of Alexandria analog hiding, inside the inner walls of Volantis.
About Tyrion, anything else? Or do you want to move on to Bran?
He's not as terrible as I remember him in this chapter. He's kind of has a mean thought about Septa Lamore. It's I don't want to know you, I just want to fuck you. But aside from that, he wasn't the worst.
Yeah,
he's not good.
There was actually the really sad bit about him learning to tumble when he was in Casterly Rock, and he would say, "Oh, all the servants would laugh, and even Cersei found it funny." And then Tywin comes home and says, "No, you will not do this again." I'm just oh. Poor Tyrion.
Yeah.
Yeah, George had to retcon that first chapter of the book.
He's not just a natural acrobat. But I know when the Dance with Dragons was about to come out, people were like, "Oh, George is finally going to answer why Tyrion could do 2 front flips in his first chapter. Oh my god, oh my god." And then it was just nope, this is it. Pretty anticlimactic.
Yeah. I think he's going to do that a lot, and if we ever get wins, because everyone's just well, what happens with this? And it's going to be turned out to be dude, Septa Lamore was a Septa that was fat. Cold Hands is a nobody. All these people will be revealed to be hey, dummies, you just obsessed over this for no reason. Here's your answer. You wanted it so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll bring up Cold Hands in my recap here.
Ooh, do it.
I trust you to do that. Anything else on Tyrion? Or maybe should we move on to Bran, now that we've mentioned Cold Hands anyway?
Yeah, I don't have anything else on Tyrion.
No, I'm good.
Cool, okay.
Internet crashes.
So after Tyrion 4, we go to Bran 2, which takes place on March 20th. It's just directly before the Tyrion chapter in the published order, and we have Matt for this one.
All right. Good morning, boys and girls. Today, I want to talk about a very important yet often overlooked topic: mirror read. Many people, mainly young lords, take mirror read for granted. They do not appreciate all that she does for them. They just assume that she will aid them in their super important quest that involves the fate of all mankind or something. Young lords are often weak and rely on Mirror Read for their very survival. She hunts for them, defends them with her life, and in some instances carries them for days on end without so much as a thank you in return. So listen closely, children, for the fate of the world is at stake. Do not sleep on Mirror Read. She likely holds the fate of all mankind in her hands, as it will be up to her to convince a certain young lord to save humanity. So overall this chapter is kind of fairly straightforward. It has, I do enjoy kind of the action scene with the whites coming out of the snow, with their surprise ambush. And then Bran, warging into Hodor and fighting down the mountain, although and you get that funny line, I wonder what Mira would think if Hodor suddenly shouted, "I love you." Although it seems kind of pretty obvious that he's warging into Hodor at this point, so I kind of assume that Mira will have a talk with him about that later, as she's kind of like Bran's conscious and linked to humanity at this point, which I feel will have pretty important ramifications later on in the story. Then obviously we finally meet the Children of the Forest, who are known as those who sing the Song of the Earth, and claim to have been around for 10,000 years. There's some interesting timeline stuff here where Leaf is somewhere between 200 and 300 years old, and that she, lived amongst men for 200 years, in order to learn the common tongue, so that she could talk with Bran. But it's also an interesting thing where Bloodraven is only 175, so it kind of seems like maybe there was, the Children of the Forest knew about Bran's coming or something, where where she specifically went out to learn the common tongue before Bloodraven even got there. And then we also, obviously we have Cold Hands in here where there was a pretty good discussion in the recent reread with the original Bran chapter, kind of about his identity, where, I like their opinion that he was just kind of some ranger who was, a friend of Bloodraven's, up at the wall at the time. And I looked it up here, so Bloodraven came to the wall along with Master Aemon. They went there at the same time, and many members of his original archer bands, like the Raven's Teeth, came with him. So I kind of assume Cold Hands is one of them, who perhaps died when Bloodraven disappeared in that raging. And then finally we get to the cave, and there's a mention to the back door of the cave, which is probably going to be important later. There's also a interesting kind of foreshadowing quote here where Hodor is afraid of the weirwood roots because he thinks they're snakes. And Bran says, it's weirwood roots. Remember the hard tree in the God's Wood, Hodor, the white tree with the red leaves. A tree can't hurt you. I feel like that might be important later. Gendel's children are mentioned again. And then finally, we get the Bloodraven reveal. And so to close this recap, I will do a quick reenactment of me trying to figure out who the Bloodraven was back in the day. Oh shit, we're finally meeting the Three-Eyed Crow. Alright, who is it? I swear I can figure this out. Alright, he's wearing black. He was once a member of the Night's Watch. He's got very pale skin and a red eye. This is the key line. 1,000 eyes in one. I do remember that. Alright, now, who the fuck said that? Oh man, if Feast had come out, more than 6 years ago, I wouldn't have to be Googling this shit. Of course, Aemon said it in the same chapter. This motherfucker is Bloodraven, and reveal. Yay. That's all I got.
Good stuff. So, I'm no hunter, and I don't know how to field dress anything, but the giant elk dies, and they only get 7 days worth of steaks out of him? This blew my mind.
Maybe they could only take that 7 days with them. They couldn't take everything out of him.
And it's a skinny elk. They mentioned the elk is really starved when it dies.
Poor
yeah, but
elk.
you gotta get the sweetbreads and all that stuff out, man.
No.
Gotta eat that fucker's liver. But 7 days, an entire elk. I'm pretty sure I could get 7 days worth of steaks out of a small dog.
Yeah, there's five of them.
And in fairness, I think Hodor
Yeah, 4, okay.
But even if they each eat a pound of meat a day, doesn't Summer go out and hunt?
Well,
yeah, I don't know how much is available.
He can't find much.
Okay, so Summer gets another pound. So that's what? 6 pounds a day times 7. It's 42 pounds. 42 pounds. They couldn't carry more than that? Hodor can, carry that, on his right arm.
I think you need to write George a letter and complain about the average meat mass of a giant elk and how this is clearly not realistic and George has fucked up.
Give me measurements. Hey.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where at the end of the day they still made it to the cave, so...
They needed to establish that they were hungry and freezing and starving, and things are bleak. I like the detail about how the others don't make footprints in the snow and they're very light on their feet, rather like elves. That was just nice and weird and alien.
Yeah. And something we don't, consider that much is that they tend to not come out, in bright sunlight.
Like orcs. Also from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
And you can feel the cold when they're around, which is very clear in this chapter.
In fairness, you can do the old chicken and egg with that. Do they bring the cold, or does the cold bring them?
Right, yeah, that doesn't matter too much. It's just a signal of, oh shit, they coming.
Yeah.
All right, well, I Googled how to field dress an elk, and one section of this is the stubborn rectum and bladder The next section is Butt Out. Oh boy. Alright. Well,
So what does your research tell you? How many pounds of meat?
I was still laughing about the stubborn rectum and bladder. So, give me a couple seconds.
What a word to use for that as well, stubborn.
Goddamn rectum.
I like the description of Leaf in this chapter. Something I only noticed on this reread was that she mentioned she's been around the world of men. Like, she's been around. So, like, I want to know her backstory. You know, what are her interactions with the common people? And as you mentioned, she's like 200 years old, so I think it's possible we might see her in a Dunk and Egg novella.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe. I don't know, but yeah, that's cool.
So I mean, the one thing that came to my head this chapter was, like a question of, was there someone, like, before Bloodraven? Like, did Bloodraven have a teacher as well? Like, within his magic? It was just kind of a random detail that caught my eye.
I kind of think so. I think there's been teachers up until this point, like an ever-diminishing number of green seers, and maybe at this point the children of the forest got so desperate they needed a human to fill this role.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I have no idea who that is, like, who it might be, just because I don't, you know, I've only read, like, the World Book once. Like, I haven't really taken a deep dive into kind of all the members.
He seems to be quite powerful before he leaves for the wall or anything.
Right, yeah, he definitely had a natural inclination for it. And he also had his, you know, sister as well, where they probably could help each other learn. But I feel like there had to be someone to teach him.
Alright, guys. A bull elk that weighs 500 pounds, field dress, and we set to work to debone all the meat, yielding 250 pounds of meat and allowing for 40 pounds for his head. That's a lot. So even a skinny, let's call it 125 pounds. It's a lot, man. That's like 3 weeks of meat. Not 1 week.
Maybe it froze over too quickly and they couldn't hack into the carcass anymore. Oh god, I have to come up with excuses for George.
I still think they need Hodor so much that he's probably going to eat for 3 people.
Yeah, but he's got a lot of mass already.
Westeros is a different world to our elks could be smaller.
Yeah, but it says a giant elk in the book.
He's going to carry a guy.
Yeah. Well, George is wrong, but it had to be it needed to be that dramatic. Like, they're exhausted, they're hungry, they have had nothing to eat for a few days, they get to the cave, oh my god, what's happening, you know?
Yeah. Right, yeah, no, it's one of those inconsequential details.
Yeah. Okay, big Bran chapter though. We finally, here it is. The three-eyed
His
crow.
long journey is at an end.
Yeah.
And he gets to walk, right?
No.
Actually, yeah, that is kind of a sad moment of him.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Breaking down
such
at
a
the
long
end there.
journey. Yeah.
Yeah.
They went all this way.
Yep. It's like, no, you won't be able to walk. I just have to teach you about magic that will slowly strip away your humanity until there's nothing left.
That's just terrible. Did you think when you first read this, did you think that he was going to walk again? And
No.
Not
just before Bloodraven tells him, nope.
Right, yeah.
It'd be too much of a cop-out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've seen some amazing shit go down since, like, he started for the Three-Eyed Raven, right?
Yeah, but it's not walking.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know, man. You see, like, a fire mage climb a ladder of fire.
But to a 9-year-old kid or whatever, he can't
See Don
walk.
Dick come back.
Flying as a crow, it just doesn't add up.
Right, yeah,
You see dead people come back to life.
Yeah, but there's no case of, like, a cripple like getting like limbs back and stuff.
That's because they just haven't tried yet.
They do have Python in this world, so...
Well, in any case, that's just this whole journey to get there with Mira and Jojen. It's just it just makes me why all of this and what's gonna happen to Mira and Jojen, and it just feels so remote from everything else in the story. I guess that's why I could never really get emotionally invested into Bran's story.
So, do you guys subscribe to the Jojen pace stuff?
No.
I mean, I doubt, like, I don't know, I feel like he's not gonna kill him off screen like that. I mean, like, and Jojen's gonna die anyway.
He certainly feels doomed, like a doomed character. But yeah, I do agree with you, Matt, that him dying off screen would just be not dramatic enough. Yeah. Like, he has that stupid, "this isn't the day I die," and he says that over and over again, and I just imagine him at his moment of death being like, "this is it. This is the day."
Right, exactly. But yeah, I'm sure we'll
Do you think Jojen will be in the prologue, maybe?
He knows too much.
So you think having him as a POV in the prologue would reveal too much?
All his green dreams and stuff, he could, like, say what's going to happen in A Dream of Spring.
Yeah.
Well, have him do that, because we're never getting that book.
6 years ago, I would have said have hope, but
yeah. Although, like, I mean, if you want to keep going, Leigh, go.
I was just going to say, and poor Bran as well. It just walks up to Bloodraven, and he's just like, hey, Bran, you like this tree? Yeah, well, buckle up, son, because you're going to be living here.
You're going to look just like me. Like, Bloodraven's this monstrous creature.
Right.
Yeah.
Aren't you excited? This is great news for you.
Just come in the room. Yeah, sit down. That's it.
And yeah, with kind of going back to Marie's point, like, I mean, yeah, his story is kind of removed, but I don't know, I still feel like it's important just because he's one of the few, like, actively kind of trying to fight against the others at the moment by becoming, like, strong enough magically to do so. And I do truly feel that there will be kind of a confrontation down the line where Mira plays an important role as she's, Bran's link to humanity versus the tree, and I feel like that's going to be an interesting, a fascinating scene when it happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hope so.
So this is the first time that Bran's like, "Oh, I love her," right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, it's hinted at, and he's still like just really young. So
yeah, I remember reading this like the first time and being like, "Well, that came out of nowhere." Like,
really?
Right.
Oh
but
no,
like,
I think it's you can feel that he's feeling like that in previous chapters.
Yeah, it's just like an obvious kind of like arranged marriage situation, like if they both survive the events of the books.
Yeah.
And also, it's not like he's really been exposed to too many other women in the previous few years either. So,
right, exactly.
Even though,
and how old is he now? I mean, he's probably getting
10, 11.
11.
Yeah,
he was 8, right?
He's got to be more than 11. He's older than Arya, right?
He is old. See, I always thought he was.
No, he's young.
He's younger than Arya.
Yeah, well, he talks about her saying his little sister in this chapter, no? Come on.
No, I'm pretty
we
sure
cannot
Bran is
not
younger.
know the
This is literally reread. We
Not
could
the-
do some simple math, probably.
Right, yeah, but I don't pay attention to ages, like, on purpose, just because George made him too young.
And then you put the discrepancy between the books and the show as well. Which
right, yeah, it's just...
Different perceptions of.
The kid's like 7 feet tall with a beard now, and he's supposed to be...
Right, yeah, I mean...
Oh, you're right. Arya is older, apparently.
Yeah, and with all the like adult themes are going to. It's just better to imagine them as being older than they are.
Yeah.
All right. He is 10 years old.
Yeah.
Booyah.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, he's probably still got...
Of all the Stark siblings, you know, Bran and Arya's ages relative to each other are probably the least important.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, and yeah, they're a year apart, I think. I assume Arya's 11 at this point.
According to a wiki of Ice and Fire. Yes.
Yeah.
So 10-year-old Bran gets shown this guy. He's got, oh geez, guys, oh no.
Can we go home?
I'm not sure about this whole thing yet.
I don't want to be a tree, guys. Come on.
Oh jeez. This is not what I signed up for.
Bloodraven.
Does he even know who Bloodraven is?
He's got to, right?
Is that a story that's told a lot inward?
Ice Spider stories. I'm guessing old man told him a Bloodraven story or two.
Okay.
I'm just imagining Bloodraven as Rick now. Morty, you're gonna be a tree. You're gonna be a tree, Morty.
just go with it. Just let it happen.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not sure about the roof.
Okay. Anything else?
I actually really love that comparison of Rick and Morty and Bran.
Someone do
I cannot unsee that now.
That's now all I'm
pay
going
a lot
to think
for
about.
And away we go.
Yeah. the only other thing I had was, I already mentioned the theory about cold hands, so.
That he's a Raven's tooth?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he might as well be, why not?
Right, yeah, it's someone we've met before, but probably an associate of Bloodraven back in the day.
I'm calling it right now. He's the dude that shot Fireball while Fireball was taking a piss or whatever right before the battle.
Okay. I hope we have an answer on that, Matt.
Yeah. And yeah, they're trying. Yeah, to try and kind of guess at what's going to happen with Bran in the future. Unfortunately, the stupid show prevents us from talking about that.
Okay, so let's just not talk about that. You're right. Can I close officially the episode, and maybe if we want to keep talking we can for a little while, but can I do the outro, or do we have anything more on Bran or any of the chapters?
No, I'm good.
What about you, Marie? You were kind of quiet on Bran.
Yeah,
I'm when I went to get some water.
To be entirely fair, I finished reading it just before we started. And mostly I just feel sad about Bran and sad about the elk and sad about Mira and George and Reed. And I'm like, it's cold up there. Why did you go? So just I'm much more interested in the character development parts of the book than I am in the big magic war that's gonna happen. So I mean, that's why from the beginning I didn't really enjoy following Bran north of the wall, because it's
not relative to the plot that you're really interested in.
Yeah, and for him it's sad. I still do believe that for him it's sad because he's gonna be alone up there for the rest of his life. I mean, we don't know, but that could be what it is, and it's just it's sad. Like it was sad enough that he couldn't walk anymore, but he was starting to find some joy still, like doing horse riding and being having responsibilities at Winterfell and stuff like that in Clash, and now he's just really alone. That just makes me sad.
Yeah, I will say that I think that if they do, like, end up, like, winning and destroying the others entirely, he won't necessarily have to be a tree for the rest of his life. He can probably put magic aside.
Yeah, I hope so.
I did like Bran's astute assessment of, I think it was Leigh, as just calling her a child that was not a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are we sure that Bloodraven is particularly against the others?
Yeah, I'm not sure though.
Right. That's why Mira is important.
Yeah. Actually, about that, they use fire here. Like, Leaf used fire to get rid of the others, or of the whites, most precisely. And she's saying fire burns them, fire consumes everything. I don't know if we can make anything of that regarding the what god they are with, if there is one.
I don't know. It's like I said this before. Like, the magic is all intertwined. There's not like a separate, old gods, others magic, or a separate lore magic. Like, it's all part of the same thing. It's just people using different aspects of it.
Yeah, completely agree.
Fire is fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, do you think... I don't know. I guess it'll be interesting to see, like, how true to, like, mythology George takes Bran. Because he could be... That's, like, one of the theories on why he could be the Great Other, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one always seemed kind of lame. Like, oh, big surprise, Bloodraven is evil. I don't know, it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, well, it doesn't click with, having his whole place warded and, having the whites trying to, like, attack him and stuff. Like, it...
Well, I mean, I'm thinking of, what is it? Norse or, no, not Norse, I think it's Irish, and Bran, like, literally translates to Raven, and he has a magic cauldron that brings the dead to life. So, like, I don't know, like, if that's been, like, his trajectory this entire time, or what?
Yeah, I think it's just the main thing where, being alive for so long takes its toll on you, and so that the Bloodraven doesn't necessarily have a conscience, and so, he's willing to sacrifice a lot of people to complete whatever his goal is. So I think that's kind of the main crisis that's going to happen, is just basically, like, how much are you willing to give in order to defeat the others that are coming.
Yeah. Or I wonder if maybe it would be, instead of being the Great Other, he'd just turn all the whites and make them alive, like, alive? Not
what, like the
alive?
ending of Mass Effect 3, where all the Reapers become alive?
I never
Even the
played
zombie
that,
Reapers?
Sure.
Oh, right, yeah.
As we all remember, that was a really bad ending, so...
That happens in the Malazan novels, too. Where, like, an undead people magically get turned into living beings at the very end.
And they're like, yeah.
Yeah, but then they're vulnerable and they get killed. It's in the middle of a battle.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a really cool, it's a cool twist.
Okay, cool.
I don't know,
Yeah.
What was that?
What I think is that the whole political stories and the magical stories will come together in later books.
Oh God, I hope so.
Oh yeah.
I think Bloodraven might be the tie in there.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the only way we can see it all coming together, right? Is that political and magical are going to be linked, and I mean, we probably all think it's going to be through Dany and her dragons, and Jon somehow, and Bran. So otherwise, it's just going to be a weird story.
And it just turns out that Darren Harris is everyone, and Darren Harris rules the world.
He sits the Iron Throne. All right, close it out.
Yeah. Okay.
We've got the Dario series. We have to leave.
Okay. So thank you all for joining me. Thank you all for listening. And for those following along at home, the next episode of the Reread will be hosted by Bina, and we'll cover Dany 4 from Dance, Cersei 5, and Jaime 3 from Feast. So you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, iTunes. You can find our WordPress page by searching for Vassals of Kingsgrave. And to get involved, just search for a podcast of Ice and Fire and join the forums, and we'll be there. Okay. Any forthcoming episodes from anyone? Manhunter.
That's never being edited. No, I'll get eventually. It turns out that when I work from home, I actually have to do work, a lot more work than I thought I'd have to. So.
Yeah, I think eventually the Avengers one will be out, but we also recorded that without anyone to edit it at the beginning. Tanya has gracefully volunteered, but it's a long record.
Okay.
I think we're going to be doing a JFK Part 2 thing. Soon me, Thomas, Bina, maybe Jock, and Julia. I'm not sure when that's happening, though. And I think that's it. I think, did you guys watch Fahrenheit 451 on HBO?
Not yet, but I will.
So it's really good as a dystopian movie, and it really shouldn't even be called Fahrenheit 451 because it resembles the book not at all.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm just watching it for the actors. I don't really care.
People can't rate it.
Yeah, no, I mean the two of them are both phenomenal actors.
Yeah, they don't give what's his name, Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
That much to build on. It's pretty much a quick switch.
Oh, okay.
Like, he's not even married.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have his wife's, attempted suicide to help spur his, little change, in the book. There's a bunch of stuff, but overall a good dystopian kind of place to play around in.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining me and either getting up early on a Sunday or staying up late. This was fun.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thanks, Marie.
Okay, guys. I'm gonna go. But have a good day or a good night, depending. And thanks for joining me.
All right. Thank you.
Right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
No.
Just took a big chug, huh? I heard it going down your gullet.
For me, it's just coffee.
And he gets to walk, right?
No. Leigh, I'm fairly certain I'm not saying your name right. And it's like...
No.
That's okay?
Yeah, Leigh, perfectly. A lot of them, one that a lot of Americans actually say Leigh. I don't know why. Maybe because they see the word slay and then they put that together. I don't know.
Leigh's a girl's name.
Fine, then I'm going to be Leigh.
And he gets to walk, right?
No. Oh, damn the connection.
Damn the connection. Shake your fist at it.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, boy.
Well,
No, you're not really audible, if that was the word.
And he gets to walk, right?
No.
Cool, yeah, I heard that sound too. Oh god, what have I done?
It was probably Leigh, maybe?
Yeah.
I mean, the dog's snoring next to me, but he's not that loud.
And he gets to walk, right?
No. Oh, Michael is gone again.
Damn you, Australia.
I was trying the internet. That'd be nice.
Someone just logged in to play like Words with Friends and it crashed the Australia. And now Leigh's out.
Am I out still?
And he gets to walk, right?
No.
Kind of guess it. What's going to happen with Bran in the future. Unfortunately, the stupid show prevents us from talking about that.
Okay. Okay, so let's just not talk about that. You're right.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
Bran's
You know what? That's annoying.
assessment.
Oh yeah, no, I've been spouting that for a while now. Where there are a lot of like theories and stuff that have been around for years. You know, especially during the 6 years between Feast and Dance. That now, just because in order to avoid show spoilers, like we kind of have to avoid some of those theories as they quote unquote may have been confirmed or not.
Yeah. Okay.
Show
let's
confirmed.
not do that then.
Ambiguous.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's easy if you just see it as its own entity. I'm sure it's annoying that you could see those things as potential spoilers, but I mean, yeah, it's hard to say anything without saying anything.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just like I do like rationally I want to see it as its own entity. It's just I also know that if I watch it, this is going to become the new story for me, and I just don't want that until the book is either finished or not going to happen.
So when Winds of Winter doesn't come out, once the final season DVD comes out, so I don't know who's still watching the show, but they filmed 8 separate endings. So they explored every possibility. So like the DVD extras on the final season will spoil, like if the show doesn't do it directly, something in the extras will spoil it. Because there can't be 8 different endings and none of them are what George like gave them as an outline.
Right. Yeah. That's
yeah, but
true.
you know what? Like the ending itself doesn't really matter that much to me. What does that mean? The ending? Like I'm just interested in how we get there.
The character development, which from what I hear, the show is failing at utterly.
Oh, it just stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just stopped caring about it. And I mean, there's still like it's not good. There's no way to reveal everything just because it's like they're so off track at this point.
But I feel like it's almost the same as like the books are heading in the kind of same direction as the show, where it's becoming more magical and less about, like it's about okay, we know these characters. We're not really meeting anyone new that needs to be developed too much more. And now it's plot and it's getting like with Bran just reaching the cave, like the magic quotient just like doubled, right? And like I feel like
but that
just
at the
Kind of a
same
natural
time,
progression.
in Bran and in Feast and Dance we have lots of character development with Cersei, Jaime, Theon, and others. So I'm not sure that's that true.
Yeah, there's certain things, that we expect to happen down the road with people like Bran and Arya and maybe even Jon, like kind of having, kind of a crisis of self, like towards like the end of the books that.
Well, Jon's dead.
Right.
So he's going to have a big hurdle to get over before he can do any more character development.
Right, yeah, but there's going to be several really important and interesting kind of character scenes at the very end of the series that I just don't think we'll get in the show.
No, most likely not.
I mean, the book itself has gone in so many directions that it's hard to keep up itself, let alone a TV show trying to make a lot of the plot ends kind of meet, which so
especially if they decide to go one way early on in the show and then, you know, diverge in one way, kind of the butterfly effect throughout the books and stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, now this entire book can almost not happen.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway.